want to kick us off with an open?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome to BG5 Live. This is April 30th, 2019. We're in episode 4. It's a third line day, third quality day, and so we're going to be talking about failure and mistakes. I'm joined by your co-host, Karen Sherwood. Hi, Karen.
Hi. I'll talk about a third quality day and failure and mistakes. I've been dealing with that all morning. So again, my computer is not working. I have to get another computer in order to do Zoom. And so we're jury rigging this, so I hope this looks okay. I have no idea what it looks like because I can't even see myself.
It's good.
And the whole setup is different, so bear with me. So thank you.
We will figure this out. And then I also have Chris on the line. Hi, Chris.
Hey, ladies and everybody else. Welcome.
Welcome. So we have a great presentation for you today. Natalie isn't able to join us, but we'll hopefully see her next week. So Karen, would you like to say a few words before we get started, or should we jump right in?
I think we should go ahead and jump right in. So what we're going to be talking about today is,
Perfect.
failures and mistakes. So one of the things about failure and mistakes is that failures and mistakes have a bad rap. You know, we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to fail. You know, we want everything to be perfect. But here's the thing. There's magic in failures and mistakes. And when we start accepting those failures and mistakes, that's where the real magic can happen. And that's where learning happens. That's where growth happens. That's where things happen. So when we're taking a look at the third quality day, it is about trial and error. It's about the trial and error process. And so, you know, there's this process of making mistakes, and it's not always easy. So we have to go through the school of hard knocks. And, you know, one of the things that I want to talk about here and discuss with our panel here today as well, and again, I don't have any of the controls, so if you can see the controls and someone from our BG5 Live would like to share as well, that we can invite them to share also. But one of the things that I want to talk about with the School of Hard Knocks, and one of the things that I want to discuss as well, is oftentimes we have this idea that, you know, once we find that magic pill, that life is going to be perfect, everything's going to, you know, it's like the walking, you know, the riding into the sunset, this happy ending, that, you know, everything is going to be perfect once we find this magic pill. But that's not the case. You know, there is no magic pill. But in a sense, if we take a look at human design in BG5, it gives us a roadmap to what we're in school about, where we're going to have those hard knocks, where there's going to be this trial and error process. Because also with this trial and error process, you can see it's the pioneer. There's discovery that's possible in failures and mistakes and trying something different. There's this determined discoverer, and you know, goes right along with the pioneer is that you don't give up if you've failed. You don't give up if you've made a mistake. You don't give up if things are not working. There's a determination to discover what will work. There's a discovery of what doesn't work, you know, and knowing this. And so with that third line quality, it really is a catalyst for change. It's evolutionary. And so it's one of those pieces that is also very, very deeply material. In BG5, especially when we take a look at, for example, in the BG5 certification, when we take a look at attributes, one of the things we take a look at when we're taking a look at the quality 3, it's about determination and it's about capital. Again, if you take a look at the third line quality, it's the one that's the most deeply material. And then go one more and then stop. And so it also reveals our profit potential. So what I'd like to do is first of all, just start off with just a little discussion of failures, mistakes. Where you find this in your career design is it may be part of your public role. So for example, 3 happens to be a part of my public role. So I know this quality 3 very, very well. And as I was mentioning earlier, realizing that it really is a gift. And one of the things I literally have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fix myself. I thought that there was something wrong because I kept failing. I kept making mistakes. And one of the beautiful things about human design in BG5 is that you realize that, oh, you know what? I'm supposed to make mistakes. I'm supposed to fail. I'm here to learn through the school of hard knocks what works and what doesn't work. So I can be a pioneer, so I can discover something new. And so it all goes hand in hand. So Lavina or Chris, would either of you like to say a few words?
How about you go, Chris?
Yeah, I was just looking as you were talking, Karen, I was looking at my chart again to see how many third lines I have. I only have 3 third lines. They're all unconscious, which just makes so much sense. Or I'm like constantly walking into walls going, why do I not get this? And they're also in the nodes and around and the moon. And so it just really, around control. It's like, oh, right, this is what I have a lot to learn about. And where I over and over and over again. So yeah.
And just to translate things into BG5 language,
Yes.
when we're talking about the moon, it is your your driving force.
Driving force,
and,
yes.
Yep. And then your future and your past direction.
Yes, thank you. I always, the translation, I always forget, but yeah, exactly. And so it really is really looking at, oh my gosh, that just makes so much sense where I have been faltering in those places. So
yep.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if I shared this one image with you guys that stuck with me ever since my first session with somebody who gave me a foundation about this process?
Yes,
because I'm a third quality public profile, and the analyst that looked at my chart, she said, look at it like you're actually in a movie, and it's like take 1, take 2, mistake, like a mistake of something that happened. So it's just like, it's just, whoops, that didn't work. Okay, take again, another take until we perfect it. Like we have to have that process of awareness of what doesn't work before we find that one thing. Like, how many times did it take for them to actually invent the light bulb? There was a lot of failures that went into perfecting something on the material plane. So that's just our process.
Yep. Did you want to show something?
Oh, me personally?
Oh, you said you wanted to show did you say share or show?
Share, yeah, but like show
okay.
is like, if you can see my hands, I'm like holding like the sign. I used to have one of those pieces like,
oh, right.
Clapperboard, the clapperboard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's funny. I just, as you're saying that, Lavina, so I'm working on creating a webinar or training on goal setting by design.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically, if I write something, I'm just like, I write it, I do it, it's pretty quick. I have been working on this for months. I haven't, every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, there's something new. There's like, it's like, rewrite that, redo that. And so I'm just kind of sitting here laughing, going, oh my gosh, it's hours and hours and hours writing this and preparing it and realizing where things fit and don't fit. And so I'm just laughing because I'm perfectly in it right now. There's probably some people on the line are also.
Refinement takes some time. It takes some practice. It takes some discipline. All processes that this third quality day can resonate with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And expect on third quality days that there may be technical difficulties, which I've been dealing with all morning long, and all kinds of other difficulties. So it's one of those things. It's like once you realize that failures, mistakes, especially when you take a look and you go, oh, it's a third quality day, no wonder. It takes it gets you out of your head, it allows you to just accept what is and accept the process.
Mhm.
And I know you've heard many people say that life, is not the destination. The life is the journey, and it's these failures and mistakes, that really, in a sense, enrich our lives and, really provide the learning that we're here to learn. It's interesting for those of you who are Game of Thrones fans. One of the things that Bran has said to several characters is, they would apologize to him, and he said, that's what's brought you here today.
Mhm.
And so almost like there's no apology needed, because you needed to go through all of that. You needed to make all of those mistakes. You needed to do those horrible things so that you could be here in this moment right now. And so we don't know what the grand plan is, but there's a reason that you're going through a trial and error. And this is one of the things, it can be a correct decision to enter into something that fails.
Mhm.
It can be a correct decision to enter into something where you're making tons of mistakes. So oftentimes, especially people who are just starting with BG5 or human design, they'd say, oh, well, it seems like it's not working because things are still falling apart and there are still these mistakes, right? But if it's a part of your design, you then start to see those failures and mistakes for what they are. And like I said, human design and BG5 is not going to make your life perfect. What it's going to do is give you a way to be able to accept all of who you are.
Mhm.
And when I say all of who you are, it's, it's the wonderful parts, and it's the not so wonderful parts. It's all of it. And it allows you to relax and accept just being you.
Mhm.
Mm.
And when you were talking, Karen, if I could share, I keep hearing Ross say, you enter into the right thing to go wrong. There are certain things that you go into it, it's awesome, but it goes horribly wrong, and you learn a fabulous lesson from that.
Exactly.
I
Mhm.
love that. And I'm just curious, do we look at it more from the individual's design and where they have the third line in their design? Or would we look at even a decision made on a day like today? Let's say, someone doesn't have a third line in their profile or their main public role. Can that affect this like trial and error? Could you speak to that a little bit?
You mean like the quality of the day affecting
Yes,
the person?
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Could we go to the next slide,
Yeah.
Karen? And yeah,
Yes,
okay.
please.
Because this will help explain it.
There we go. Perfect.
So I'll go ahead, Lavina.
I was gonna let you do your thing if you'd like.
All right.
Okay.
So to kind of answer Kristen's question, we also want to take a look at not only what the quality of the day is, but also what is the trait theme that's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
So today you can see it's in the head, it's in the mind, it's in conceptualization, and it's about rationalization. And here it says the addict. And this is something that I also want to speak to, because oftentimes, there may be aspects of your design that you go, oh, the addict, that's not very nice. And there may be words or phrases or things that you're going, oh, that's, like that's a horrible thing about me. That's not good. And sometimes, with the human design analysts or BG5 consultants, sometimes they're a little, they have a little trepidation about, letting their client know that, oh, well, your life purpose is rationalization and you're the addict. That, that doesn't sound so great, but, there is a beautiful side to each of it once you understand kind of the deeper essence of what it's all about. So if you want to go to the next bullet. So when we're taking a look at rationalization, when we're taking a look at trait 24, and we're taking a look at the theme, this is the trait of return, so your thoughts often return to the same idea or the same concept over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So regression, when it talks about regression, regression is kind of going back over everything and reviewing everything until it can be understood. Now, if we take a look at where this is located, this is one of the individual traits. And so when we're talking about individualism, individualism is mutative. And the third quality is mutative. So this is about going over an idea over and over and over again until you get, in a sense, sort of.
Oh, Karen, I think you might have, can you hear her?
Mm-mm. No, she knows.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there we go. My phone was
Okay.
ringing. I'm doing it on my phone.
So
It's like, don't you want to answer the phone?
yeah, I'm in the middle of it.
So it happens, what was I saying? So it happens in a pulse. It's not there, it's not there, it's not there, it's there. You go over the same concept over and over and over and over and over until the mutation happens, until the change happens. And sometimes it can be a quantum leap.
Mm-hmm.
So when we take a look at the addict, go ahead and continue. The next bullet. So one of the things you have to be really careful of here, because we can see that this is in the mind. And remember, the mind is the worst place to make decisions. This is not where you want to make decisions, right? You want to make decisions according to your design, and all of them are somewhere in the body. So what happens to the knower when they cannot know? So if we take a look at trait 24, trait 24 is also about, the knower. It's about rationalizing things. Mm-hmm. But what happens to the knower when they cannot know is, I'm going to go to the next bullet. They try to force the knowing out of the fear of ignorance. All right, so this is one of the awareness functions. And so with the awareness functions, there are fears, and this happens to be the fear of ignorance. You don't want to look bad. You want to know. So then you try to force knowing. This is also where you can force decisions as well without waiting for that right moment. So go ahead to the next one. So addiction, regression, and irrationality is legitimized, and often can be legitimized by success. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? That means mm-hmm. that, you do something over and over again, and you're getting rewarded for it. It may be something that's irrational. It may be something that's bizarre. It may be something that doesn't make sense. But because you do it over and over and over again, and you get rewarded by it, and there's success through it, right? This is actually one of the profit potentials. This is one of the ways, if you happen to have this trait 24, and you have this trait 24 in an undefined conceptualization, this is actually one of the ways that you profit. Mm-hmm. And so let's go to the next slide. I want to just talk about this a little bit further, and then we can go back. I'll go one more. And we'll go back to these famous failures. So this is just to give you an example of selling certainty through addiction. So for example, with BG5 or human design, it's selling human design or BG5, and it becomes an addiction. You can't learn enough. There's always these deeper levels of the onion. So you can see that this can be a very positive thing as well. If there's something that you're very passionate about, that you want to kind of go over it and deeper, there's deeper and deeper layers of the onion. That's what human design is all about. Video games, selling something that people like to play incessantly, that they can get addicted to. Television series, some people schedule their life around a TV program, it's this sort of selling through addiction, or the new iPhone. People camp out and wait in line forever to be one of the first to buy, for example, a new iPhone. And, or like Black Friday, they go shopping at 4 a.m. in the morning to get the best deals. again, this is irrationality, right? To get up at 4 a.m. and go shopping. But it's legitimized because, you can make sense of it because you're going to get the best deal. So you're going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go shopping. So that kind of gives you sort of an idea of how it works as a profit potential. So Lavina, if you'd like to go back just a couple of slides there. Yeah. And so Chris or Lavina, anything that you want to add to this? And also actually, let me go back and answer Chris's question real quick. With Chris's question, when we're taking a look at that third quality can, kind of affect how your days goes, and there can be, a lot of mistakes and trial and error. So that's one of the ways that it can affect you, even if it is not part of your public role. If you take a look at your design, any place that you have a third quality, this is a place where there's going to be trial and error. This is a place where you're going to learn. This is a place, that is, you're going to experience, you're going to bump into things. That's part of trial and error. This is, these are the lessons and the things that you're going to bump into, so you can take a look at that in your design as well. So most people have at least one third line quality within their design. There may be some of you that have no third line qualities in your design, but yet, we always come in contact with others who have third line qualities, or we come up against a day like today where there's a third line quality where, again, if things are in trial and error, it's kind of like you can now sort of accept it and laugh it off and go, that's why it's happening. And again, then you don't take it so personally, like there's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
Did that answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I was thinking there might be some others who might have that same question. So
yeah, really great question. And anything, Lavina or Chris, that you would like to add here?
Can I share a little bit of a contemplation of recognition about this addict as far as when it comes to rationalization? I have a 61 trait, and it's in a third quality. So before I became interested and really well educated in human design, being addicted to rationalizing my purchases, my decisions. I mean, it would just over and over and over again, constant figuring it out. And it is an addiction to the material plane. A third quality is like what's going to work out of the material. So if this will work. If I do this, this will work. Just be addicted to trying to figure it out with your head rather than just letting whatever your decision-making process is to be the deciding factor. And then I also have someone who, did you see the email I sent you, Karen?
Yes.
Would you like me to share a little bit of something there? Okay, so this is actually somebody who has it as her unconscious earth. And so what she says is she's undefined in that center. Everything else is open, the head and ashna, or the inspiration and conceptualization.
Conceptualization, yep.
So she says, how I have seen this show up at this point in my experiment is the ability to recognize when my clients aren't seeing their own truth. It's as if they rationalize their own behavior and they can't see where they're stuck in the loop of thought that doesn't allow them to move forward. So for me, she says, there are contemplations and renewal of thought till the knowing shows up. It's never about making a decision from this place, but surrendering of sorts that shows up if it's correct over time. I used to be ashamed of the things that others would say about this trait until knowing showed up that this contemplating and consistent renewal and transformation actually grounds me, and it doesn't matter the negative things that were said about the trait. Because when recognized and invited, she's an advisor, it is my superpower to be able to see what others can't see about their own stuck thoughts. And through seeing and helping others, I can see and help myself. It's truly a gift to be yourself, and I'm grateful that I have this trait in this line.
Yeah, beautiful. And a real beautiful example of, again, there is magic here. If this is part of your design, it's part of what you're here to learn about. And it can be, it can be something that's not so great, right? So there's always a binary. There's always a binary of there's sort of the challenge of it, and there's sort of this exaltation of it. There's this, what's the word I want to use?
Elevation?
Yeah, this elevation of it as well. So always realize that things work in a binary. So, there's both sides, and they're two different sides of the same coin. Anything, Chris, you would like to add?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the Profit Potential course and looking at, for me, I have in the future direction 21.3, and it's unconscious, and that in an undefined willpower, and just really thinking about how I've bumped up. So not necessarily the mind, but using willpower to try to force things, and how I've bumped up against that in the material plane, just looking at how I want to try to create something and control it. And when I haven't done that, how it's worked out, and how much I've learned about how that just does not work. Just does not work to try to control those things. So I'm just thinking about it, in terms of that, and just invite other people to think about it, this third line quality in the material plane for yourself, whether you have trait 24 or not. How is it showing up in your life? I think it's a really powerful discussion.
Yeah. And Lavina, if you can go back one slide. So as I was contemplating this, I found this on Facebook. I'm like, oh, how perfect.
Yeah.
Famous failures. So it says, if you've never failed, you've never tried. So if you take a look at Steve Jobs, and this each, it tells a little story of each of them, or Walt Disney, or Albert Einstein, or Oprah Winfrey, or Michael Jordan, or the Beatles. How they failed, what mistakes they made, what, people said that they would never, become anything, or, that they're not made, like for Oprah, I think it was a little small, I can't read. So she was demoted from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television.
That's
right?
funny.
Albert Einstein, he wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teacher said he would never amount to much. Right? Walt Disney, fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. Steve Jobs, at 30 years old, he was left devastated and depressed after being unceremoniously removed from the company that he started. Or Michael Jordan, after being cut from his high school basketball team, he went home and locked himself in the room and cried. And the Beatles, rejected by Decca Record Studio, who said, "We don't like your sound. They have no future in show business."
Yeah.
So as you can see, it's almost as if it's, the thing that was said negatively about them, the thing where, it looked like they failed, is really the place where they really brought forth their brilliance as well. And I highlighted Albert Einstein and John Lennon and Oprah Winfrey, because if you take a look at their designs, and what I have highlighted there are the 24s that happen to be in their design. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. And John Lennon has 24 in quality 6 2 times, and he has it in judgment. So this is the judge or discipline. And if you happen to have, so if you don't have any, for example, third line or third qualities within your design, you may have 6s. And if you have a 6 quality, the first 30 years is just like the 3. It's about trial and error. And it's only through that trial and error that you can learn what you're here to learn, so you can be, the role model and the leader later in life. So again, it's really, what I want to talk about today as we're speaking, or the main point for today, is to really embrace those failures, embrace those mistakes, embrace those parts of you that you're like, that you don't like so much. you know, that you think, you know, may not be good enough. You know, like I said, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fix myself, only to find that there's nothing wrong with me. It's exactly how I'm designed, and it's perfect the way that it is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of the most inspirational things about design is that it helps us to accept, appreciate, and most of all, love our process, whatever our process happens to be, instead of being envious of somebody else's, because there's no comparisons out there. It's just all about what's in here.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
Definitely.
Anything, Chris, that you would like to add?
I love looking at this and thinking about, again, as I'm doing this goal setting, really exploring just that it's this whole concept of trial and error, but also just entering into things correctly and understanding that sometimes as third lines, we're going to enter into them correctly and fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's so brilliant. I just love that. It's awesome. I mean, it makes so much sense. And thinking about my husband, who's also a 1-3, and how much the third line can get into judgment. I mean, you just said, you know, you've spent hundreds of thousands on just trying to fix yourself. And I know a lot of us have done that for all different reasons, but that judgment that can come from, I should have known better, I should have done it correctly the first time, you know, and that can drive people to succeed, right? Looking at these famous failures, or it can drive people to quit. And, you know, just having that piece of information can be really life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. All right. Well, I just wanted to see. I can't see or control the screen, but is there anyone who's attending here live who would like to share their experience or their observations or anything that anyone out there would like to share? Just want to give you an opportunity as well.
So just wanted to let everybody know, if you have something to share, please type it into the chat, or there's also the Q&A panel. At this moment, I don't see any open questions, but we do have a comment from somebody who just had to leave, and that is from Marije.
Marika.
No, not Marika.
Okay.
Marije, I'm not pronouncing her name correctly. I can't remember. Marije Miller. She said, great presentation. Sorry I have to leave early. Thanks for bringing more attention to BG5.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
That quality of determination that the 3 has, it's a resiliency and adaptability too that they bring to the table, so that they can have those determined discoveries of what could work. By just being able to pick themselves up again. Like, it's failing, it's crumbling, everything's, but then just being able to get right back up again. I just love that about our qualities, yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that was Mariah.
Mariah, thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong. Mariah, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we've come up to our 30 minutes. So a couple things I just wanted to add at the end. If you are if we've piqued your interest around the profit potential, I just want to introduce you to the profit potential workshops. And you can see, if you go to the profit potential workshops, you can access the very first class of our Drive and Stamina. Each of the individual workshops, I should say workshops, each of the individual workshops are 4 sessions long. And so here you can access the very first session if you want to get a feel or a flavor for what it's all about. And would love to have you aboard on this journey. We're actually next week, next Wednesday, we're going to start talking about communications. And again, you may be listening to this via the recording. You may be listening to this later on. So you can check here. You can see the dates down below. So you can see and check in to see what the most up-to-date dates are if you're listening to this later. But next Wednesday, we're going to be starting our next Profit Potential Workshop, which is all about communications and manifestation. Oops, go ahead.
Cool.
I'm having trouble with this. Close this. There we go. Come on, third line.
Welcome to a third quality day. We've
exactly.
demonstrated it today.
Exactly.
So I do invite you to check it out. It's bg5businessinstitute.com/profit. And here's where you can find all of the profit potential workshops and when the next one is going to be available. So I would love to have you join us on Wednesday for the communication. So this is about communications, action, and manifesting. It's a really, really powerful profit potential there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Also, I wanted to let you know that our classes for this upcoming semester are also starting next week. So I also wanted to give you an invite, and Lavina, I don't know if you can get to the next slide. There we go. Also wanted to invite you to attend the first class for free. And again, our courses start 3 times a year. They start in May, September, and January. So our next classes are starting in May, and they're starting next week. So I invite you to check out the first class, and you can check out the first class for free. So you can go to the foundations course, and so again, it's the bg5businessinstitute.com/free trial. For the foundation course, it's /BG5 free trial to check out the certification course, and OC16 free trial to check out the OC16. So the foundations really give you the foundations for all of the material in BG5. So we really go in depth and really understanding how to read, those weird looking charts, especially if you're new to BG5 and human design. You may have no idea what these charts all mean. So that's what we do in the BG5 Foundation course is give you the roadmap and give you the science, if you will, behind the maps and how to read the maps. And then in certification, this is what allows you to use this information in working with others and working with clients. This also takes a look at how one works in their career, so individually, but also in partnership and also in small teams. There's different dynamics that happen depending on the size of the group that you're in. And then the final class is the OC16, and OC16 is for large group or large team dynamics. So if you get beyond 3 to 5 people, then you are moving into the world of OC16. So, and again, this gets deep into how to communicate with large teams, how to lead large teams, and sort of the dynamics of, I sort of see it as the dynamics of the world of, of how the world works. We think we've made it up as human beings, but you can see that there's actually, it's all a part of our design, which is really, really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So again, invite you to attend the first class for free to really get a flavor for what BG5 is all about, and hope to see many of you in our upcoming classes. All right, well, that wraps up our BG5 Live for today. So any last words, Chris or Lavina? Let's start with Chris.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. On a day like today, just keep swimming.
Awesome. Oh, I love that reference. Thanks for that, Chris.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, just continue on the journey, release your expectations, and have a joyful ride. It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. All good. And I have to tell you, I was telling Lavina right before this started, I was about to cry because I was like, everything that could go wrong has been going wrong. And so I'm glad we were finally able to get this out. Again, I apologize for those of you in Facebook. Once again, just because of these technical things, we weren't able to get it, I believe, in Facebook Live, to have it live, but we will have the recording up and posted. And I need to get a new computer. That's part of the problem, is that my computer is, it's
Well, and it's a perfect example of the resiliency and the adaptability and the determination of a third line, because you didn't give up. We're all still here. We made it through, and it's just part of that process of figuring out which way will work.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So, we're living it. We're, and we're doing it. And again, we find out what does and what doesn't work, and, somehow you manage. You're able to make it through and make it happen. I don't really like the saying making it happen, because you shouldn't make it happen. But when there's that determination and you're following your decision-making strategy correctly, there is this determination, to, overcome whatever the obstacles are, to get through and be able to, to do it anyway. And that's what we're able to do today. Great example.
Yeah, and don't you love that feeling once it's worked out? Love it.
That's really why we do things. It's for that feeling.
Exactly. Yeah, and think about it. If you never made a mistake, right, you wouldn't have it'd be boring.
Exactly.
If you never made a mistake, it would be really boring. And if you take a look, at the people that are really powerful in the world, I guarantee you that they've made more than one mistake. Because the only way that they've gotten where they've gotten is through, all of the mistakes that they had to make along the way, and all the learning opportunities that were present in each failure and each mistake.
Amen.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Great to have you all here, and thanks for joining us on this journey for our BG5 Live. And if you want to go to the last slide, Lavina. And so join us live Tuesdays at 1 p.m. U.S. Pacific time, and we'll continue to explore this wonderful thing called life, and our career design, and BG5 and human design, and what this stuff is all about. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.